Have you ever felt emotionally exhausted from always being the person who understands everyone else? The person who keeps giving, keeps helping, keeps staying quiet, just to avoid disappointing people. You smile, you stay kind, you make sure everyone around you feels comfortable, but deep inside, you feel like you are slowly disappearing. And the frightening part is this: most people will praise you while this is happening. They will call you kind, selfless, loving, strong, but nobody sees how tired your soul has become from carrying everyone while secretly abandoning yourself. Buddhism teaches that one of the deepest forms of suffering is not losing the world around you. It is losing yourself while trying to be accepted by it. So if you constantly feel emotionally drained, mentally heavy, or strangely empty even after doing so much for others, this message may explain why. Because tonight, we are going to talk about the hidden pain of people pleasing. And the moment true healing begins, when you finally stop destroying your peace, just to keep everyone else happy. The dangerous addiction to being liked by everyone. Most people never notice when the need to be liked becomes an emotional addiction. It begins in very small ways. You want people to think well of you. You want harmony. You want connection. You do not want conflict. So you become more careful with your words, more careful with your actions. You slowly begin shaping yourself around other people's expectations without even realizing it. At first, this feels normal. You tell yourself you are simply being kind. You tell yourself you are keeping peace. You tell yourself you are being mature and understanding. But slowly, something dangerous begins happening inside you. Your happiness becomes tied to other people's reactions. Their approval starts controlling your emotions. If someone sounds cold toward you, your entire mood changes. If someone is upset with you, your mind cannot relax. If someone misunderstands you, you replay the conversation again and again inside your head, trying to fix it. If someone pulls away emotionally, you immediately blame yourself and wonder what you did wrong. And little by little, your peace stops belonging to you. It begins belonging to everyone else. Buddhism teaches that attachment is one of the deepest causes of suffering. And one painful attachment many people carry is attachment to being accepted by everyone around them. You begin needing constant reassurance that people still like you. You begin fearing disagreement. You become uncomfortable expressing your true feelings because you worry it may disappoint someone. So instead of being authentic, you become emotionally adaptable. You slowly become whoever people need you to be. Around one person, you act softer. Around another, you hide your opinions. Around others, you silence your emotions completely. You begin studying people's moods before speaking. You become highly aware of facial expressions, changes in tone, and emotional reactions. Your mind stays alert all the time, because deep inside you are trying to avoid rejection at any cost. And this becomes emotionally exhausting. Because you are no longer living naturally, you are performing constantly. Many people who struggle with people-pleasing do not even know who they truly are anymore, because they spent so many years adjusting themselves for others. They became so focused on being accepted that they lost connection with their own voice. They forgot what they genuinely enjoy. They forgot what they truly feel. They forgot how to express themselves honestly without fear. This is the hidden tragedy of trying to keep everyone happy. It slowly disconnects you from your real self. The mind becomes exhausted, trying to maintain an image that keeps everyone comfortable. You overthink every conversation. You worry about disappointing people. You constantly monitor everyone's emotions, while ignoring your own emotional exhaustion. And the painful part is that people may praise you for this, while it is silently destroying you. They may call you kind, they may call you selfless, they may say you are easy to be around. But nobody sees the anxiety living inside you. Nobody sees how mentally tired you are from carrying the pressure of always being emotionally perfect for others. Buddhism teaches that true peace cannot exist when your identity depends on outside approval. Because the outside world constantly changes. Human opinions constantly change. Someone may appreciate you one day and criticize you the next. If your worth depends on people's reactions, your peace will always remain unstable. And this creates a life filled with hidden fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of disappointing people, fear of being misunderstood, fear of not being enough. So you keep shrinking yourself to stay accepted. You tolerate things that hurt you. You stay silent about disrespect. You apologize for things that are not your fault. You carry emotional pain quietly because you do not want anyone to become upset with you. But the more you ignore yourself, the heavier your soul becomes. Eventually, resentment quietly begins growing inside you. Not because you are selfish, but because no human being can endlessly abandon themselves without emotional consequences. A person who constantly sacrifices their truth for approval slowly loses inner peace. And the saddest part is that many people spend years trying to earn love from the world while secretly feeling unloved inside themselves. They become emotionally dependent on praise, dependent on validation, dependent on being needed. Because somewhere deep inside, they started believing their value only exists when other people are happy with them. But Buddhism reminds us of something deeply freeing. You were never meant to carry the responsibility of controlling how everyone feels about you. No matter how kind you are, somebody will misunderstand you. No matter how much you sacrifice, somebody will still feel disappointed. No matter how carefully you behave, somebody will eventually judge you through their own pain, expectations, or emotional wounds. This is part of being human. And the moment you finally stop fighting this truth, something inside you begins to relax. For the first time, you stop exhausting yourself, trying to manage every opinion. For the first time, you stop believing your worth depends on universal approval. For the first time, you begin understanding that peace does not come from making everyone happy. Peace comes from no longer abandoning yourself just to be accepted. The silent tragedy of losing yourself for others. Losing yourself rarely happens in one painful moment. It happens slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. At first, you do not even realize it is happening. You simply want to be there for the people you care about. You want to help. You want to support them. You want everyone around you to feel comfortable, loved, and emotionally safe. So you begin putting your own feelings to the side. You tell yourself your needs can wait. You tell yourself your pain is not important right now. You tell yourself you are being strong, and little by little this becomes your normal way of living. You become the person who always understands others, the person who always forgives, the person who always adjusts, the person who carries emotional pressure silently while making sure everyone else feels okay. But while you are busy taking care of everyone around you, something inside you slowly begins disappearing. You stop listening to yourself. You stop asking yourself simple but important questions. What do I truly feel? What do I need? Why am I always emotionally exhausted? Why do I feel empty even when I am surrounded by people? Buddhism teaches that suffering begins when we become disconnected from our true nature, and one of the deepest ways people disconnect from themselves is by constantly abandoning their own emotional reality to maintain relationships. Many people look calm on the outside while secretly feeling broken inside. They smile while carrying emotional heaviness. They comfort others while silently craving comfort themselves. They keep showing up for people while their own soul feels completely tired. And because they became so used to suppressing themselves, they no longer know how to ask for help. This is why people-pleasing becomes dangerous. It teaches you to ignore your inner voice. The more you silence yourself, the weaker your connection with yourself becomes. At some point, you stop living naturally and begin living entirely through other people's expectations. You become deeply focused on keeping everyone else emotionally satisfied, even if it costs your own peace. You say yes when your body is exhausted. You stay available when your mind desperately needs rest. You continue giving emotional energy when your heart already feels empty. And after years of this, burnout quietly enters your life. Not loud burnout, not dramatic burnout. A silent kind of burnout. The kind where you wake up tired even after sleeping. The kind where your mind constantly feels heavy. The kind where you no longer feel excited about life the way you once did. Your spirit becomes exhausted because it has spent too long carrying emotional weight without receiving enough care in return. And the painful truth is that many people around you may never notice, because you became too good at hiding your suffering. People see your kindness. People see your patience. People see your ability to stay calm, but they do not see the emotional pressure inside your chest. They do not see how many nights your mind stayed awake, replaying conversations. They do not see how much pain you swallowed just to avoid disappointing others. Buddhism reminds us that awareness is the beginning of healing. And one painful thing many people finally become aware of is this. They spent so many years trying not to lose other people that they slowly lost themselves instead. And this creates deep inner sadness, because eventually you realize that the person you abandoned most was yourself. You abandoned your own emotions, your own needs, your own limits, your own peace. You became emotionally available to everyone except yourself, and over time, resentment quietly begins growing inside you. Not because you are selfish, not because you stopped caring, but because the human heart cannot endlessly give without becoming exhausted. No soul can survive constant self-neglect without suffering. Many people believe they are being loving when they constantly sacrifice themselves. But Buddhism teaches balance. True compassion includes yourself too. You are not meant to destroy your peace to prove your love. You are not meant to disappear inside relationships. You are not meant to spend your entire life emotionally surviving while everyone around you feels comfortable. A healthy heart gives love without abandoning itself. And this is where many people finally begin awakening. They begin noticing how often they ignored their own feelings, how often they accepted emotional disrespect, how often they forced themselves to stay strong while silently falling apart inside. And slowly, a powerful realization begins growing inside them. Maybe constantly sacrificing yourself is not love. Maybe constantly abandoning yourself is not kindness. Maybe peace was never meant to come from making everyone else happy while secretly hurting yourself. Because real peace cannot grow inside a person who keeps leaving themselves behind. Eventually, there comes a moment where your soul becomes too tired to continue pretending. Too tired to keep carrying everyone. Too tired to keep hiding your pain. too tired to keep living as the version of yourself that exists only to make other people comfortable. And strangely, this painful exhaustion becomes the beginning of healing. Because the moment you finally see how much of yourself you lost trying to keep everyone else, you also begin understanding something deeply important. You deserve your own love too. You deserve your own care too. You deserve peace that does not require self-betrayal. And the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself, your healing truly begins. The exhaustion of living behind emotional masks, one of the deepest forms of suffering, is pretending to be okay while silently falling apart inside. Many people spend years hiding their real emotions because they are afraid of making others uncomfortable. They fear conflict. They fear rejection. They fear being judged. So instead of expressing what they truly feel, they slowly begin creating emotional masks. A mask for family, a mask for friends, a mask for relationships, a mask for the world. And after wearing these masks for so long, they forget what their real face even feels like. Buddhism teaches that truth brings freedom. But when a person constantly hides their truth, suffering quietly begins growing inside the mind. At first, pretending seems harmless. You force a smile even when your heart feels heavy. You say, "I'm okay," when your mind feels exhausted. You laugh during conversations while secretly feeling emotionally disconnected. You convince yourself that staying silent is easier than explaining your pain. So you keep hiding things. You hide your sadness. You hide your disappointment. You hide your emotional exhaustion. You hide how deeply certain words or actions hurt you. And slowly, your entire life becomes built around emotional performance instead of emotional honesty. This is why so many people feel tired all the time without understanding why. Because pretending is exhausting. It drains the soul. The mind was never designed to constantly suppress emotions while acting peaceful on the outside. Eventually, your inner world becomes overwhelmed from carrying feelings that were never allowed to breathe. Many people who constantly try to keep everyone happy become emotionally trapped inside this pattern. They become so focused on protecting others from discomfort that they slowly destroy their own peace. They avoid difficult conversations. They tolerate disrespect silently. They ignore emotional pain just to keep relationships stable, and at first they believe they are keeping peace. But Buddhism teaches something very important. Silence is not always peace. Sometimes silence is fear. Sometimes silence is emotional exhaustion. Sometimes silence is a person slowly disappearing inside themselves because they became too afraid to speak honestly. And this creates deep inner loneliness, because one of the loneliest feelings in life is being surrounded by people while feeling emotionally unseen. People may love the version of you that always smiles, the version that never complains, the version that always stays calm and understanding. But deep inside, you begin wondering something painful. Would they still accept the real me? Would they still stay if I stopped pretending? Would they still love me if I finally showed them how tired I truly am? This fear keeps many people emotionally trapped for years. So they continue acting strong, continue acting peaceful, continue acting emotionally fine while their inner world slowly becomes heavier and heavier. And eventually, the body begins carrying what the mouth refuses to express. Your chest feels heavy all the time. Your mind becomes noisy at night. Your nervous system feels constantly tense. Small things suddenly make you emotional because years of hidden feelings are waiting to be released. Buddhism teaches awareness because awareness allows us to finally see what we have been avoiding. And many people eventually realize this painful truth. They spent years trying to protect everyone else from discomfort while secretly drowning in their own emotional pain. This is why emotional honesty is so important. Not harsh honesty, not angry honesty, but gentle honesty. The kind where you stop lying about your emotions. The kind where you stop pretending everything is okay when it is not. The kind where you finally allow yourself to admit that constantly carrying everything alone is hurting you. Because healing cannot begin where pretending never ends. You cannot heal emotions you refuse to acknowledge. You cannot find peace while constantly performing a version of yourself that feels emotionally disconnected from your truth. And one of the saddest things about emotional masks is this. The longer you wear them, the more people become attached to the fake version of you. They become comfortable with your silence, comfortable with your endless patience, comfortable with the version of you that never asks for anything. So the moment you finally begin expressing your needs, people may act surprised. Some may call you different. Some may say you changed. Some may become uncomfortable when you stop hiding your feelings. But you are not becoming difficult. You are becoming real. You are becoming honest. You are becoming emotionally awake after years of suppressing yourself for the comfort of others. And this is one of the most powerful moments in healing. Because the moment you stop performing for acceptance, your soul finally begins breathing again. You stop carrying the exhausting pressure of being emotionally perfect all the time. You stop forcing smiles that hide pain. You stop pretending situations do not hurt when they do. You stop acting emotionally strong every second, just to protect other people from discomfort. And slowly something beautiful begins happening inside you. Your mind becomes quieter, your body becomes lighter, your emotions become clearer. Because truth has a calming effect on the soul. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when we resist reality, and emotional masks are often resistance. Resistance against vulnerability, resistance against truth, resistance against being fully seen. But true peace only begins the moment you stop hiding from yourself. Not everybody will understand your honesty. Not everybody will feel comfortable when you stop pretending. Some people may even leave when you stop being the version of yourself that made life easy for them. But losing fake acceptance is far less painful than losing your real self. And eventually, you begin understanding something deeply freeing. You were never meant to spend your life acting emotionally okay, just to make everyone else comfortable. You were meant to live honestly, to breathe honestly, to feel honestly. Because real peace is not found in pretending to be happy. Real peace is found in finally no longer being afraid to be real. Why carrying everyone else? Slowly break spirit. Many people spend their entire lives carrying emotional weight that was never theirs to hold. They become the fixer, the helper, the emotionally strong one, the person everybody runs to when life becomes difficult. At first, this feels meaningful. You feel needed. You feel important. You feel valuable because people depend on you. So you keep showing up for everyone. You listen to their problems. You calm their emotions. You comfort them during hard moments. You become the safe place for everyone around you. But slowly, without realizing it, your own soul begins becoming tired. Because while you are busy carrying everyone else emotionally, nobody notices how heavy your own heart has become. Buddhism teaches compassion, kindness, and care for others. But many people misunderstand compassion. They believe compassion means sacrificing themselves endlessly for everyone around them. But true compassion does not require self-destruction. A peaceful heart cannot survive constant emotional exhaustion, and this is where many kind people begin suffering deeply. They become emotionally available for everyone while secretly neglecting themselves. They answer messages even when mentally drained. They continue comforting people while emotionally overwhelmed. They ignore their own pain because they believe other people's struggles matter more. And over time, this creates silent burnout. Not the kind of burnout people easily see. A deeper kind. The kind where your soul feels heavy every morning. The kind where your mind never fully rests. The kind where you feel emotionally tired even during peaceful moments. Because your nervous system has spent too many years carrying emotional pressure without enough space to recover. Many people who constantly try to keep others happy secretly live in survival mode. Their mind stays alert all the time. Who needs me right now? Who is upset with me? Who might feel disappointed? Who needs emotional support? And because they became so focused on everyone else's emotional world, they slowly lose connection with their own inner world. This is one of the hidden dangers of people-pleasing. You become emotionally responsible for everyone except yourself. You begin believing it is your job to fix people, to heal people, to save relationships, to absorb emotional pain so others feel comfortable. But no human being can carry this weight forever without breaking inside. Eventually, your spirit begins showing signs of exhaustion. You feel emotionally numb. You lose excitement for life. You crave isolation because social interaction feels draining. You become irritated more easily because your emotional energy is already overloaded. And sometimes you feel guilty for being tired because you became so used to prioritizing everyone else. But Buddhism teaches balance. And balance means your peace matters too. Your emotions matter too. Your rest matters too. You were never meant to spend your entire life emotionally rescuing everyone while silently drowning yourself. Many people carry emotional burdens because they fear what will happen if they stop. They fear disappointing others. They fear being seen as selfish. They fear losing relationships if they stop overgiving. So they continue sacrificing themselves long after their soul has become exhausted. And the painful truth is that some people become comfortable with your self-neglect. They become used to your endless patience, used to your emotional availability, used to the version of you that always says yes. So when you finally become tired, when you finally need space, when you finally stop carrying everyone, some people may not understand it because they benefited from the version of you that abandoned yourself for them. This realization hurts deeply. Many people eventually discover that they were loved more for what they provided than for who they truly were. And this creates heartbreak inside the soul, because deep down all you wanted was genuine connection, not relationships built on emotional exhaustion, not love that only survives when you sacrifice yourself. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering, and one attachment many people carry is attachment to being needed. Being needed makes them feel important. Being needed gives them identity. Being needed makes them feel worthy. So they keep carrying emotional pain that does not belong to them because they fear feeling unimportant without it. But healing begins the moment you understand something deeply important. Your worth is not measured by how much suffering you can tolerate for others. You do not need to emotionally exhaust yourself to deserve love. You do not need to constantly rescue people to have value. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to protect your energy. You are allowed to stop carrying burdens that are slowly destroying your peace. And this is one of the hardest lessons many people must learn. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every ever emotional wound is yours to heal. Not every relationship can survive through your sacrifice alone. Sometimes, people must face their own pain without you saving them from it. And sometimes your healing begins the moment you stop trying to save everyone else. Because the truth is, constantly carrying others while neglecting yourself does not make you spiritually strong. It makes you emotionally depleted. Real strength is knowing when to care and when to let go. Real wisdom is knowing that compassion must include yourself too. And real peace begins the moment you finally stop believing that destroying yourself is proof of love. There comes a point where your soul becomes too exhausted to continue living this way. Too tired to carry everyone. Too tired to absorb everyone's emotions. Too tired to keep being the emotionally strong person while secretly feeling broken inside. And in that moment, something powerful begins awakening within you. You finally realize that you deserve the same kindness you spent your life giving to everyone else. You deserve rest. You deserve emotional safety. You deserve peace that does not require constant sacrifice. And the moment you finally stop carrying the entire world on your shoulders, your spirit slowly begins breathing again. The hidden anxiety created by fear of disappointing people. Many people are not only tired because of life. They are tired because they are constantly trying to prevent everyone around them from feeling disappointed. They carry invisible emotional pressure every single day. Pressure to say the right thing. Pressure to act the right way. Pressure to keep everybody happy. Pressure to avoid upsetting anyone. And slowly, this pressure turns into anxiety. A deep emotional anxiety that quietly follows them everywhere. Buddhism teaches that suffering grows when the mind becomes attached to control. And one impossible thing many people try to control is how everyone feels about them. They want everyone to approve of them. Everyone to understand them. Everyone to stay pleased with them. But this creates endless emotional tension because human emotions constantly change. No matter how careful you are, someone may still misunderstand you. No matter how kind you are, someone may still feel hurt. No matter how much you sacrifice, someone may still become disappointed. And when your peace depends on avoiding disappointment in others, your mind never truly rests. Many people live in constant emotional alertness because they fear becoming the reason someone feels upset. So they begin overthinking everything. They replay conversations repeatedly. They worry about small changes in people's behavior. They become anxious if someone replies differently. They immediately assume they did something wrong, and slowly their mind becomes trapped inside endless emotional worry. This is one of the hidden consequences of trying too hard to keep everyone happy. You become emotionally afraid of honesty. You become afraid to say no, afraid to set boundaries, afraid to express your needs, afraid to disagree. Because deep inside, you fear rejection. You fear people leaving. You fear conflict. You fear disappointing others so much that you begin abandoning your own truth just to maintain emotional peace around you. But the painful reality is this. The peace you create by betraying yourself is never real peace. It is emotional suppression, and eventually, suppressed emotions always return. They return as anxiety, as emotional exhaustion, as overthinking, as inner heaviness, as silent resentment. Many people who constantly try to avoid disappointing others secretly live with a nervous system that never relaxes. Their mind is always preparing for emotional danger. What if they are upset with me? What if I hurt their feelings? What if they stop liking me? What if they leave? And because these fears live inside the mind constantly, even simple situations become emotionally draining. A short message can create anxiety. A small disagreement can ruin the entire day. A change in someone's tone can create hours of overthinking. Not because you are weak, but because your emotional safety became connected to other people's approval. This is why Buddhism teaches detachment. Not coldness, not lack of love, but freedom from emotional dependence on things you cannot control. You cannot fully control how every person feels about you. And the moment you stop trying to control this impossible thing, your soul begins becoming lighter. Many people spend years trying to become emotionally perfect for others. They apologize too much. They explain themselves too much. They tolerate disrespect too much. Because they believe if they are good enough, nobody will become disappointed with them. But this is an illusion. Even the kindest people in the world are misunderstood sometimes. Even loving people disappoint others sometimes. Even peaceful people experience conflict sometimes. This is part of life. And the more you fight this truth, the more anxious your mind becomes. Buddhism teaches acceptance, because acceptance ends unnecessary suffering. The moment you accept that you cannot make everyone happy, you stop exhausting yourself trying to do the impossible. You stop carrying responsibility for emotions that were never yours to control. And this realization changes everything, because many people secretly carry guilt for simply being human. They feel guilty for needing space, guilty for saying no, guilty for protecting their energy, guilty for choosing themselves sometimes. So they continue sacrificing their peace to avoid making others uncomfortable. But eventually, this destroys emotional stability. A person who constantly ignores themselves to keep others satisfied slowly loses connection with inner peace. Their mind becomes noisy, their body becomes tense, their emotions become unstable, because the soul was never designed to live under constant emotional pressure. There comes a point where you begin realizing something deeply important. You are not responsible for managing everybody's emotional reactions. You are responsible for living honestly and peacefully. And sometimes, living honestly means disappointing people. Sometimes growth disappoints people. Sometimes boundaries disappoint people. Sometimes healing disappoints people. Not because you are cruel, but because some people became comfortable with the version of you that never prioritized yourself. The moment you stop over-explaining yourself, the moment you stop apologizing for having needs, the moment you stop carrying emotional guilt for protecting your peace, your anxiety slowly begins losing power over you. Because true peace is not found in making sure nobody is upset. True peace is found in no longer being terrified of disappointing others at the cost of destroying yourself. Buddhism teaches that freedom begins inside the mind. And one of the most freeing moments in life is when you finally stop measuring your worth through other people's emotional reactions. You stop chasing approval. You stop fearing rejection. You yet stop shaping your entire life around keeping everyone comfortable. And for the first time, your mind begins breathing again. Not because everybody suddenly understands you, but because you are no longer abandoning yourself just to avoid disappointing them. And that is where real emotional freedom quietly begins. Sacred boundaries. The moment you finally choose yourself. One of the most powerful moments in a person's life is the moment they finally realize that protecting their peace is not selfish. For many people, this realization takes years. Years of emotional exhaustion, years of overgiving, Years of saying yes when their heart wanted to say no. Years of carrying emotional pressure silently while pretending everything was fine. Because many people were taught something dangerous from a very young age. They were taught that being good means always sacrificing yourself, always being available, always being understanding, always tolerating more, always putting your own feelings last. So they grow up believing boundaries are selfish. They feel guilty for resting, guilty for needing space, guilty for protecting their emotional energy. And because of this guilt, they allow too much into their lives. Too much emotional pressure, too much disrespect, too much draining energy, too many relationships that slowly damage their peace. Buddhism teaches balance, awareness, and wisdom understands something deeply important. A peaceful soul cannot survive where there are no boundaries. Without boundaries, your life slowly becomes controlled by everybody else's emotions, expectations, moods, and demands. People begin treating your energy as if it belongs to them. They expect endless access to you, endless patience from you, endless emotional availability from you. And because you fear disappointing people, you continue giving more than you can emotionally handle. Even when your body feels exhausted, even when your mind feels overwhelmed, even when your soul desperately needs rest. This is how many people slowly lose themselves, not through one painful event, but through years of constantly allowing too much while ignoring their own emotional limits. Boundaries are important because they protect the soul from emotional drowning. They create space for peace, space for healing, space for honesty, space for self-respect. But many people struggle deeply when they first begin setting boundaries because guilt immediately appears inside them. The moment they say no, they feel selfish. The moment they choose rest, they feel lazy. The moment they stop overgiving, they feel afraid people will leave. And this fear keeps many people trapped inside emotional exhaustion for years. Because deep down, they became afraid that if they stop sacrificing themselves, they will stop being loved. But Buddhism reminds us that attachment creates suffering. And one painful attachment many people carry is attachment to being needed at all times. They feel valuable only when they are constantly helping others, constantly fixing problems, constantly making everyone comfortable. So boundaries begin feeling dangerous to them, because boundaries force them to face a difficult truth. Their peace matters too. Their emotions matter too. Their energy matters too. And for someone who spent their whole life prioritizing everyone else, this realization can feel almost unfamiliar. Many people who constantly try to keep everyone happy slowly become emotionally drained because they never learned how to protect themselves. They allow disrespect because they fear conflict. They tolerate emotional manipulation because they fear losing relationships. They remain available to people who constantly exhaust them because they fear being seen as selfish. And over time, their spirit becomes tired, very tired, because the soul was never meant to live without protection. Imagine leaving the doors of your home open every single day for anyone to enter, take your energy, create chaos, and leave whenever they want. Eventually, the home would become emotionally unsafe. And the same thing happens inside the mind when boundaries do not exist. Without boundaries, emotional peace slowly disappears. Your nervous system becomes overwhelmed. Your mind becomes restless. Your emotions become unstable because too many people have access to your inner world. This is why boundaries are sacred. Not because they push people away, but because they protect what is valuable inside you. Many people misunderstand boundaries. They think boundaries are anger, coldness, distance. But healthy boundaries are not built from hate. They are built from self-respect. They are quiet decisions that say, I will no longer abandon myself to keep others comfortable. I will no longer tolerate emotional harm just to avoid conflict. I will no longer destroy my peace to maintain unhealthy relationships. And this changes everything. Because the moment you begin respecting your own limits, your entire inner world begins changing. Your mind feels lighter, your body feels calmer, your emotions become clearer. For the first time, you stop living only for other people's comfort and begin creating emotional safety for yourself too. But one painful thing often happens when you begin setting boundaries. Some people become uncomfortable. Not because your boundaries are wrong, but because they benefited from the version of you that had none. They were comfortable when you constantly sacrificed yourself. Comfortable when you stayed silent. Comfortable when you tolerated everything without protecting your peace. So, the moment you begin changing, they may call you distant. They may say you changed. They may accuse you of becoming selfish. And this hurts deeply at first, because people pleasers often feel responsible for everybody's emotional reactions. But Buddhism teaches that true peace cannot exist where self-betrayal continues. And boundaries are often the first real act of self-love many people ever experience. Because for the first time they stop asking, how can I keep everyone happy? And they finally begin asking, what kind of life allows my soul to breathe peacefully? This is where healing begins. Not when everybody approves of you. Not when everybody understands you. But when you finally stop abandoning yourself just to be accepted. There comes a moment where you realize something powerful. You cannot heal in environments that constantly drain your spirit. You cannot grow while ignoring your own emotional needs. You cannot find peace while allowing endless emotional pressure into your life. And slowly, you begin choosing differently. You begin protecting your time, protecting your energy, protecting your mental peace. Not from hate, not from bitterness, but from wisdom. Because true wisdom understands that a peaceful life requires emotional protection. And the moment you stop feeling guilty for choosing yourself, sometimes your soul finally begins feeling safe again. You begin breathing differently, thinking differently, living differently, because for the first time in a very long time, you are no longer treating your own peace like it matters less than everyone else's comfort. And that is one of the deepest forms of healing a human being can experience. Your worth was never meant to be measured by sacrifice. Many people spend their entire lives trying to earn love, not because they are unlovable, not because they are not enough, but because somewhere deep inside they began believing that their value depends on how much they can give, sacrifice, tolerate, and endure for others. So they spend years proving themselves. They become more available, more patient, more understanding, more forgiving. They carry emotional pain silently because they fear losing connection if they stop giving so much of themselves. And slowly, sacrifice becomes their identity. Buddhism teaches that attachment creates suffering. And one painful attachment many people carry is attachment to the belief that they must constantly suffer to deserve love. So they overgive, overextend, overexplain, over-sacrifice, because deep down they fear that if they stop, people may stop loving them too. This creates a heartbreaking cycle. The more exhausted they become, the more they continue giving. The more emotionally drained they feel, the more they try proving their worth. The more empty they become inside, the harder they work, to keep everyone around them happy, and eventually they lose themselves completely. Many people who constantly try to please others secretly live with a deep emotional wound. The wound of believing, "I am only valuable when I am useful." This belief quietly shapes their entire life. They feel guilty resting because they think they should always be helping someone. They feel uncomfortable prioritizing themselves because they fear being selfish. They feel anxious when they cannot meet everybody's expectations. And because of this, they rarely allow themselves to simply exist peacefully without constantly earning approval. But the human soul was never meant to live under endless emotional pressure. You were never meant to spend your entire life proving your worth through suffering. Buddhism teaches that peace begins when attachment loosens. And one attachment many people must finally release is the attachment to earning love through self-neglect. Because real love does not ask you to disappear. Real connection does not require you to emotionally destroy yourself. Real care does not demand endless sacrifice while your spirit quietly collapses inside. But many people stay trapped inside painful relationships, exhausting patterns, and emotional burnout because they confuse suffering with love. They believe, "If I just give more, maybe I will finally feel enough. If I stay patient long enough, maybe they will finally value me. If I keep sacrificing myself, maybe I will finally be loved the way I deserve." And sometimes years pass before they realize something painful. Some people were only comfortable with the version of them that constantly abandoned themselves. This realization hurts deeply because many people eventually discover that they were loved more for their usefulness than for their true self. People appreciated their endless giving, their endless patience, their endless emotional availability. But very few people asked, "Are you okay? Are you tired? Who takes care of you?" And after years of carrying everybody else emotionally, a quiet sadness begins growing inside the heart. Because deep down, all you ever wanted was simple. You wanted to feel loved without needing to destroy yourself first. But Buddhism reminds us of something deeply healing. Your worth was never meant to be earned through pain. You do not need to exhaust yourself to deserve care. You do not need to constantly prove your goodness to deserve love. You do not need to sacrifice your mental peace to have value. Your existence alone already has worth. This is one of the hardest truths for people pleasers to accept. Because they became so used to earning love through service that resting feels uncomfortable. Doing nothing feels wrong. Saying no feels dangerous. Protecting themselves feels selfish. And because of this, they often continue giving long after their soul has become exhausted. They continue staying in draining relationships, continue tolerating emotional imbalance, continue carrying people who would never carry them the same way. And slowly, resentment begins growing inside them. Not because they are cruel, not because they stopped loving others, but because the human heart cannot endlessly pour from an empty place without eventually breaking. There comes a moment where your soul becomes too tired to continue living this way, too tired to constantly prove your value, too tired to keep chasing approval, too tired to keep sacrificing your peace for people who barely notice your suffering. And strangely, this exhaustion becomes the beginning of awakening. Because for the first time, you begin questioning everything. Why do I feel guilty for resting? Why do I feel responsible for everybody's happiness? Why do I believe I must suffer to deserve love? And slowly, awareness begins changing you. Buddhism teaches that awareness is the first step toward freedom. The moment you clearly see the pattern, the pattern begins losing power over you. You begin understanding that your worth is not connected to how useful you are. You begin realizing that constantly abandoning yourself is not love. You begin noticing how much of your life was built around fear of rejection instead of genuine inner peace. And little by little, your relationship with yourself begins healing. You stop apologizing for having needs. You stop feeling guilty for protecting your energy. You stop believing your only purpose is making everyone else comfortable. For the first time, you begin treating yourself with the same kindness you spent your whole life giving to others. And this changes everything inside you, because when a person finally understands their worth, they stop begging for acceptance from people who only valued their sacrifice. They stop chasing validation through exhaustion. They stop shrinking themselves to remain lovable, and instead they begin standing quietly inside their truth. Not with arrogance, not with anger, but with peace. The kind of peace that comes from finally realizing, I no longer need to destroy myself just to feel worthy. And this is one of the deepest forms of emotional freedom a human being can experience. Because the moment you stop measuring your value through suffering, your soul finally begins feeling safe inside itself again. True freedom begins when you stop abandoning your soul. There comes a moment in life when your soul becomes too tired to continue pretending, too tired to keep carrying everyone, too tired to keep chasing approval, too tired to keep sacrificing your peace just to feel accepted. And, strangely, this exhaustion becomes the beginning of awakening. Because many people spend years trying to be everything for everyone else while secretly feeling empty inside. They become emotionally available to everybody, emotionally understanding toward everybody, emotionally patient with everybody. But inside, they feel disconnected from themselves. They wake up feeling heavy. They move through life feeling emotionally drained. They smile while carrying silent sadness inside their chest. And eventually, a painful question begins appearing inside the mind. When was the last time I truly felt like myself? This question changes everything, because for the first time, you begin noticing how much of your life was spent trying to become lovable instead of simply being real. Buddhism teaches that suffering often grows from attachment, and one of the deepest attachments many people carry is attachment to external approval. They become attached to being needed, attached to being accepted, attached to being liked by everyone, so they slowly abandon themselves to maintain connection. They silence their truth, ignore their needs, suppress their emotions, hide their exhaustion, and after years of this, they no longer recognize the person they became. They look calm on the outside, but feel lost inside, because the soul cannot feel free while constantly living for everybody else's expectations. This is why so many people feel emotionally trapped, even when their life looks normal from the outside. Their spirit became exhausted from years of self-betrayal. Every time you ignored your feelings to avoid conflict, your soul felt it. Every time you forced yourself to stay available while emotionally drained, your soul felt it. Every time you chose other people's comfort over your own peace, your soul quietly carried the pain. And eventually, the emotional weight becomes impossible to ignore. You begin craving silence, craving space, craving distance from the pressure of constantly performing for others. Not because you stopped loving people, but because your soul desperately wants to breathe again. Buddhism teaches awareness, because awareness brings liberation. The moment you finally see patterns that have been hurting you, transformation becomes possible, and slowly, your eyes begin opening. You begin noticing how often you apologized for simply having emotions, how often you tolerated an emotional imbalance, how often you made yourself smaller just to keep relationships comfortable. And for the first time, you begin understanding something deeply painful. You spent so much time trying not to lose other people that you slowly lost yourself instead. This realization hurts deeply, because many people eventually discover that they abandoned their own peace for people who were never doing the same for them. They sacrifice sleep, mental peace, emotional stability, self-respect, all for approval that still never felt complete. And this is where awakening quietly begins. Not through anger, not through revenge, not through becoming cold toward the world, but through honesty. Honesty about how tired you truly are. Honesty about how much pain you ignored. Honesty about how much of yourself you lost while trying to keep everyone else happy. And once you see this clearly, something inside you begins changing. You stop chasing validation the same way. You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop feeling responsible for everybody's emotional reactions. For the first time in years, you begin listening to your own inner voice again. And at first, this feels unfamiliar. Because when a person spends years abandoning themselves, reconnecting with themselves feels almost strange. You begin asking yourself questions you stopped asking long ago. What brings me peace? What kind of life feels emotionally healthy for me? What relationships drain my spirit? What parts of myself have I been neglecting? And slowly, your relationship with yourself begins healing. You begin allowing yourself to rest without guilt, to say no without panic, to protect your peace without apologizing for it. And little by little, your mind becomes quieter. Not because life suddenly becomes perfect, but because you are no longer fighting yourself every single day just to be accepted. This is what true freedom feels like. True freedom is not everybody approving of you. True freedom is no longer needing approval to feel worthy. Buddhism teaches that peace is found within. But many people spend their entire lives searching for peace in external acceptance. They search for it in praise, in validation, in being needed, in keeping everybody happy. But external approval can never create lasting peace because it constantly changes. One day people appreciate you. Another day they misunderstand you. If your identity depends on other people's reactions, your emotional state will always remain unstable. But the moment you return to yourself, everything changes. You stop building your life around fear. You stop shaping your personality around other people's expectations. You stop abandoning your truth just to avoid rejection. And for the first time, you begin feeling emotionally safe inside yourself again. This is one of the most beautiful forms of healing, because there is something deeply peaceful about no longer needing to perform for love. You no longer feel desperate to prove your worth. You no longer feel responsible for fixing everyone. You no longer feel trapped inside endless emotional pressure. Instead, you begin living with softness, a softer mind, a calmer heart, a quieter spirit. And yes, some people may not understand this new version of you. Some people may become uncomfortable when you stop sacrificing yourself. Some relationships may change. Some people may leave when they no longer benefit from your self-neglect. But losing people was never the deepest tragedy. The deepest tragedy was losing yourself while trying to keep everyone else. And the moment you finally stop abandoning your soul, something beautiful begins happening inside you. You begin feeling whole again. You begin feeling connected to yourself again. You begin feeling peace in simple moments again. Not because the world suddenly changed, but because you finally stopped treating your own soul like it mattered less than everyone else's comfort. And this is the moment true freedom quietly begins. The moment you stop asking, "How do I make everyone happy?" and finally begin asking, "What kind of life allows my soul to live in peace?" Because at the end of the day, Buddhism teaches something deeply simple and deeply powerful. A peaceful life can never grow from constant self-betrayal. Real peace begins the moment you finally choose yourself too. And maybe that is the truth your soul needed to hear today. You were never meant to spend your entire life exhausting yourself just to keep everybody else comfortable. You were never meant to carry every emotional burden alone. Never meant to silence your truth to avoid rejection. Never meant to abandon your peace just to feel accepted. For so long you kept giving pieces of yourself away, hoping it would finally make you feel loved, valued, understood. But deep inside, your soul was only asking for one thing: to finally come home to yourself. Buddhism teaches that suffering begins when we lose connection with who we truly are. And healing begins the moment we stop running from ourselves. The moment we stop performing, stop pretending, stop chasing approval from every direction. And maybe now, for the first time in a long time, you are finally beginning to understand something deeply important. Your peace matters too. Your heart matters too. Your soul deserves rest too. You do not need to earn love by destroying yourself. You do not need to sacrifice your spirit to prove your worth. You do not need everybody to approve of you in order to deserve peace. And yes, some people may not understand the new version of you. The version that finally chooses rest. The version that finally sets boundaries. The version that finally stops apologizing for having emotions. But that is okay, because losing yourself was always far more painful than losing people who only loved the version of you that kept suffering in silence. So, from this moment forward, stop abandoning yourself. Listen to your heart again. Protect your peace again. Choose yourself again. Not from selfishness, but from healing. Because the most beautiful thing that can happen to a human being is not becoming loved by everyone. It is finally becoming at peace within themselves. And if this message spoke to something deep inside your heart, then take a quiet moment for yourself tonight. Breathe slowly. Be gentle with yourself. And remember, you deserve the same love, care, and compassion that you keep giving to everyone else. If this video helped you, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Lotus Wisdom for more peaceful teachings, deep Buddhist wisdom, and healing reflections for the soul. And in the comments, share these words: "I will no longer abandon myself for acceptance." Your healing begins there. If this message connected with your heart in some way, subscribe to Golden Lotus Wisdom for more peaceful Buddhist teachings and quiet reminders that help you reconnect with yourself. And if you feel comfortable, share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may help someone else feel a little less alone on their healing journey.